It's on the left. It's the, all right.
Oh, I see it. I got it.
Okay, we're going to be starting the EdcampHOME teacher burnout session. We'll start by introducing ourselves from left to right. So Debbie, you'll go first and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name's Debbie Fucaloro, and I'm from St. Louis, and I'm a former instructional technology specialist, and I did research on teachers in professional development, informal professional development, self-directed learning, so this is perfect.
Great.
I'm Lisa Light. I'm from Clio, Michigan. I am a high school math teacher. I've been teaching, this will be my 6th year. Teacher is kind of a difficult thing for myself. I tend to try to take on too much, so that's why I wanted to kind of talk about this and see how I can kind of fix that and help others to fix the same thing, because I know there's so many new things coming out and so many new things to try that we try to do everything all at once and end up not really being as successful as we'd like.
Great. I'm Vicki Sedgwick, and I'm from Southern California. I'm a K-8 technology teacher, and in Edcamp, I love Edcamps. I do a lot of in-person, so it was fun to try this one, and I'm interested in this topic also. So, Lisa, do you want to start with kind of an idea, a question, or how do we want to handle this?
Sure. I guess, as I was kind of thinking about it once I put the idea out there, I'm thinking, I know that we all have to try to figure out a way to balance everything it is that we're trying to do. And how do we make those choices, and how do we prioritize those things, and how do we kind of, I know for myself, rectify that I want to do all this, but I only have time to do this.
Well, I know for me, and I'm terrible at it, but I try, and especially like when I've gone to a conference or even after a day like today, I'm sure it'll be the same thing, I tell myself I can't do it all, and I prioritize. So I will make a list of the top 3 things I want to do, and then I'll explore those. And then I'll have a list of the others so I can explore those later. But I think as teachers, we all tend to think we can do it all, and we can do it all well, and we can't. So I'm interested in ideas, too, on how to maybe say no more often than I do. I don't know.
I mean, is there one way that's better than another for us to prioritize these things? As I'm sitting here, kind of waiting for things to start, I started thinking, well, how do I prioritize it? How do I figure out what to focus my time on and what to put at the top of that list? Is it a matter of, coming up with a set of questions and saying to ourselves, okay, what are the things that are going to most directly impact my students in their learning? And then what are those things that are going to impact me as a professional? And then what are my maybe wish list things I'd like to do that are like, hey, this is a really cool thing, I'd love to incorporate it. How do we figure out how to prioritize that? Because I know that's what I need to do. But, it's a matter of just how do you do that, and then how do you stick with it?
I like those categories, and I think if you kind of research or make the list like you said, and also keep a track of what is taking most of your time, though. You know what I mean? Because it's probably a lot of things getting in there that are taking up your time that are maybe taking you away from what you really want to do. So have you looked at that?
No, I haven't. I just started. There's a Google extension, Time Tasker or something like that, and I just started that, and it kind of keeps track of what you spend your time on online. And so I thought that might be one way to kind of look at, like we were saying, what am I really spending my time on? Mm-hmm. And reflecting on that, is this where I really want my time to be spent?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And is it stuff that you have to do for school that you're required to do? I don't know if it'll keep track of that, but and can you streamline those to make more time for the things that you really want to do?
That's a good.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, No, that's a good question. Looking at it, because I get sucked a lot into Twitter. I love Twitter, and I've gotten so many resources and so many great things, but there's so much information there. And how do you filter it? How do you prioritize? I mean, there are so many people that put out such great things, but I can't follow everybody because my Twitter feed becomes huge. So it's like, and I don't want to feel bad. I'm not dissing anybody not following you, but you only have so much, and I get easily sidetracked by all the cool stuff.
Mm-hmm. Right, and sometimes I do a time. My time sucker is Pinterest, so like I use that as reward time, and I kind of if I did something really cool, oh good, I'm gonna go on Pinterest now because I think that sometimes you do have the tasks of there's things you have to do, there's things you want to do, there's things you should do, and so, and have you used Pomodoro, the Pomodoro method? It's kind of towards writing, but you could use it for anything. But
No.
it's a timer, and you can even get the timer online too. But it's a tomato Pomodoro, and you work on something for so long, and then you take a break, and then you work on so it's a progressive thing. So you're seeing it's task related, and then you kind of can set how you use your time that way too.
So it's Pomodoro. Can you spell that for me?
Pomodoro, right? And look that up. There's a website for it, but I don't know. It's sounds like you were typing, so we muted your mic. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Sorry.
Okay. I just got this little message. But I think time management is definitely a teacher burnout thing. I wasn't thinking it was going to go that way with time management, but that's true. That's one of the biggest ones in organizing. But I always think, looking at the stuff that you're required to do, and could you do third, third, third of the stuff that you have to do, third's the stuff you want, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, categorize them into those things. What you should do.
Yeah, your categories were good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the other things aside from time management that tend to burn us out? Are there things that because I always go to time management, but are there other things that are lying under the surface that we maybe don't think about as things that burn us out, but really do?
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously the things that you have to do, at school, there's so much as a teacher that you have to do. Is there anything like that your department or your team or your admin, if they knew, that was taking up your time that wasn't so for the kids, it's I don't know, that varies for everyone, but
yeah, I don't think I personally have a lot of that because I get more my administration telling me, okay, you have enough on your plate. You need to get some things off. You don't have to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard when you're trying to find the best things to do for your kids and to try to incorporate technology in a way that's meaningful, not just because it's a new shiny gadget.
Exactly.
It takes time to learn that and to figure that out and to I look at too not just the technology, but how do I incorporate more project or problem-based learning, and where do I find good resources that fit my kids well? Because even though this is math and this is a great resource, maybe it doesn't fit my kids. It's not a good entry point for my kids.
Right.
There's a lot of that too. A lot of great resources, but how do I filter them? Not for my kids and my needs.
Right. Filter is the biggest thing right now, I think. When and you do have to do somebody called it, I think it was the crap filter or whatever, but it's really tight. I forget who that was, Kathy, or I don't know who it was. But you do have to have that because as far as following good people, and you probably participate in targeted chats like Math Chat or whatever, follow the people, and that's so important, just to find your reliable people to connect with or follow. And yeah, I know it's. And do you have like organizational tools that you use, like Evernote or whatever? I mean, do you feel organized in those other ways, or how do you save your things? Do you curate like using Pinterest or Digo, or I mean, do you use those kind of tools to curate your things? And
That's one of the things I started trying to do this summer because I felt like was very discombobulated. Things were all in a bunch of different places.
right,
And I wanted it to be something too that I would run across all my devices so that I don't have one thing for my iPad, my iPhone, and my laptop.
so important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I've never been a big Evernote fan, but I committed this summer. I'm like, okay, I'm going to really try to use this. So I've started using it more, but I've used Pocket.
A lot of people like Pocket.
Yep. So, it's along those lines, but I have started trying to do that more. And when I run across something, it's like, I'll save it to Pocket. This is a great thing. I'll read it later. And then I get 50 things in my read it later, and I don't have any time scheduled for read it later.
And that's so frustrating too. Sometimes I have so many tabs open, and I finally, when I want to clean them up, I just do later, read it later, and I to get rid of them. And I think, in the perfect world, I'll go back, but a lot of times I don't.
Yeah, there's almost this sense of, I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to miss that golden nugget. But I have to know that I'm going to miss some of those things, and that's okay. And I have started, if I have a bunch of tabs open and they're still all open tomorrow, I go through and I decide, all right, you have 3 things, you got to pick 3. Throw the rest away, you got to pick 3.
Yep. And I also have tabs categorized by what the topic is. That kind of helps too. And moving the tabs around and pin the ones, so like, for math or I don't know, like when I did social studies, I would have folders for each chapter or unit or learning. I'd have tabs for different ones, but it was always organized. It just made me feel better. I don't know if it worked, but it made me feel less, more organized. And when you feel more organized, you do feel more on top of everything.
And I have to wonder too, with all of the technology that we now have, because I started teaching later on in life, so I didn't start teaching until 5 years ago. But it seems like we're inundated with so much more just in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And how are we preparing new teachers to deal with that kind of an environment? And do we spend any time teaching them about not getting overloaded and not getting burned out and learning how to schedule time for your family, which I am horrible at. All 5 of my kids will tell you that. How do we, how do we do that, and how do we prepare them?
Oh, I think that's huge. New teachers, and going back to what you said also is, just because you miss something, you have to realize if it was good, it'll keep coming around. The really good stuff does keep coming around. And
that's a really good point.
You don't have to feel panicked that you're going to really miss something, because some things are still being tweeted, from months ago, but it's because it was so good, And I think that's where you just have to take a deep breath and just think, know that you'll see it, you'll be aware of it. But I know what you mean when you said, you say about family time too, because you have to. It's just a matter of the Pomodoro or whatever your time. The Pomodoro's for when you're actually sitting there and you're going to work on it, and then just realizing that you have things organized, and when you do sit down, you'll get it done faster and more efficiently.
I really like what you said about that, and I never really thought about that before, how the really good things will keep coming up and keep coming up. And I think keeping that in mind, actually, as I'm thinking about, kind of living that way, where if I don't see something pop up a couple of times, maybe wait and look at it until I do.
That too.
As a way of kind of almost a community filter.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then you know you're good people that curate for your instance, math. You know the good people that are always on top of that, and they're the ones that you could really, kind of focus on. I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And,
that's a really good point too. I like that.
yeah.
Almost an expert filter.
Yes. Yes. And
Right.
because there's people I have on certain topics that I know I can always go to, or go to their webpage, or go to their resources, and you know who to go to, essentially. So
Right. Yeah, you could use a tool like if this then that. Have you heard of that? To say when I get tweets from certain people, save it to my Evernote, for example, if you're using Evernote. So that way you wouldn't necessarily miss the tweets from those people that you feel share really valuable resources, because a lot of times I think we spend 5 minutes here and 5 minutes there checking Twitter rather than saying I'm going to spend a dedicated half hour and then I'm not going to look again because I'm afraid I'm going to miss something. So if you're afraid you're going to miss something, try and do something like an if this then that says if a tweet comes in from this person, favorite it for me, or put it into if this then that, put it into my Evernote or something. So that
or
way,
you can also make a column on your tweet deck with just that person,
right.
and then you can see all their tweets. And usually, if it's a real kind of an experty person, you can see all the ones they're tweeting to and who's responding, and that kind of follow conversations.
Mhm.
Sometimes there's really good things in that too. When it says details, and you can click on details and it fans it out. That's really nice too. And then you don't feel like you're missing anything. I mean, I don't feel like it because there are certain people I do that with, and you can change those so all the time, and they're easy to change. Just having that person's stream go down, and that's really helpful, I think.
And the if this then that, isn't that like isn't a website or something where you can put it's almost not a script or something like that.
A
I can't
recipe,
remember.
they call them recipes.
Right. Recipes, right.
Yeah.
Is that a specific website?
Yeah. Hang on, I'll post the link.
Okay.
And they
Thank you.
probably have a recipe. I'm sure they have a recipe. Somebody already did one of that, so you can use that recipe and just plug in your information.
Okay. No, that's a really good idea. I like that too. I like this idea of finding filters to filter
Yes.
through those things so that only
Right.
those things that you deem most important are really coming to you, that are begging for your attention. So not everything is begging for your
Yes.
attention.
Right.
I think that's a really good point.
Yes. And Feedly, now the Google Reader, if you use a reader, that will, if somebody that you really like has a blog, you can put it in that reader, and it's just an icon up on your toolbar. I like Feedly now that Google Reader's not around, but there's other ones. If you have an iPad, I think Zite, there's different ones where you just have everything that person does goes right there as an RSS. But you can also follow other things with RSS too, not just blogs. And so that's really helpful too.
Yeah, I'd started looking at doing that, and I found myself with, okay, now I've got Twitter, and now I've got blogs that I'm reading, and it's like, okay, now I'm inundating myself with even more.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And
But yeah,
yeah,
I do.
it's true. It's one of the skills
Yeah, I
we
think it's important
teach
to
our
figure out.
students.
True, very true.
Mhm.
I should probably be taking my own advice.
But we're all figuring it out together because there's so many tools every day. There's another app that's really cool, and so you just have to become your own filter and what works for you. And it's not supposed to add to your stress. It's supposed to help you feel more on top of it. And that's what I think everybody is working towards that. I know Vicki, who's Cool Cat teacher, is you know who she is. She's
Vicki Davis.
yeah. She said she gets up first thing in the morning and goes through the blogs, and then she doesn't look at them for the rest of the day. Or I mean, she has a set thing she does every day to stay on top of social media, and I think that's really important that you get into a groove and a pattern of when you do it and when you don't, so you have a life.
Right. Almost like compartmentalizing your time. Going,
yes.
This is the time that I look at this, and I have this much time to do that.
Yeah.
One of the things I just did the other day is I took a Google spreadsheet and I made myself some columns. I made this summer, this year, next year, 3 years, 5 years, and my husband said, and put in a column that says pipe dreams. So I started taking everything that's been going around in my head that I'm trying to do all at once, and I started going, okay, I only have this many slots for each one, and when this one's filled up, it goes into the next one. And that's kind of been helpful because, like, gamification is something I'm kind of like, do I want to do that? Don't I? But with everything out with Flip Classroom and everything else I'm doing, I'm like, that goes into 3 years, that goes in this. And if I have time and if I feel the same way about it then, I'll do it then.
Absolutely. That's really good for long-term planning and just keeping you so that you don't feel like you're just ignoring things. You say, I only have so much time, and right now that's going to go in year 3. That's perfect. That's a really good strategy.
It's been helpful to at least get it off my mind to where I feel like, okay, it's still kind of on my game plan, but it's in my game plan for the future, so right now I don't have to expend any energy on it.
Yep. And you can save links if they come through and say, okay, I'm going to look at that in 3 years. The game stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You can curate it. It'll change in 3 years. But, it's just that, I mean, at least you feel like you've got a place to put stuff, and you feel, I think it makes you feel like you're conquering it, and you've got it under control, and I think that's really important.
Right.
Yeah, it does. It makes it feel like it's not being, it's not getting lost.
Right.
I always hate to lose a good idea. You ever have that happen where it's like you start going down, you start thinking this idea, and as I get older, I have to write this stuff down. Something about you hit your 40s and that memory just goes. Like, oh, that was a great idea. I lost it 10 minutes ago. What was it?
I know.
Yes, write it down. Put it somewhere.
I know, and somehow I didn't have something to write it down. I'm like, that could have been the magic bullet. That could have saved education.
Exactly.
No, but I think you're right. Prioritizing things, and I think everybody has their own idea of what works best for them. I, like you, have thought Evernote would be it. I have not fallen in love with Evernote yet myself. I've been trying it more this summer. A lot of my friends really like it, but I just have not. It doesn't fit my workflow so far. I'm trying to make it, so we'll see if it does by the time school starts, because I think what it can do is really great. I just don't know that it's for me yet. So I think it's finding what's for you.
True, and I think for me, Evernote, I've started kind of having this tiered system. First, I put it in Pocket. Then, if it's good and I want to delve in a little more, I go to Evernote. And then, if it's really good, I start creating Google Docs. But I think the thing for me with Evernote is its user interface. I love what it can do. I just don't like the user interface for some reason. It just doesn't grab me.
That may be it for me too. I'm not sure.
So I'm hoping maybe they'll tweak the user interface a little bit, and then I'll like it some more.
And they probably will if they get complaints, and suggestions. I think a lot of the apps want to stay on, especially like them, they want to stay on top. So, they'll probably take those suggestions seriously. I offer suggestions all the time to app makers because I think, well, they want to know, and if they don't, they won't pay attention, but maybe something will change, But
I do like being able to have those notebooks and then just quick notes, because what I would find myself doing would be creating Google Docs with all my notes and information, and then my G drive is like filled with all kinds of like just ideas.
Right.
So that's when I started kind of getting this tiered of Pocket first, then like I delve into it a little bit more. Like I have some books I'm reading, and instead of I would type myself out notes in books, I don't do that anymore. I highlight in the book, and then I take pictures of it, and I put it in Evernote in a big note.
There you go.
And that way I don't have to type anything. It's like right in there. So that's been helpful. But there's a lot of great things out there, but it's a matter of finding the few, because I can't deal with a ton of apps.
Yeah, some people like LiveBinder for the same thing that you're saying. I think they use those. I don't know that many people use both, but it seems like either LiveBinder or Evernote. But LiveBinder is more of a place to stick stuff like a binder. Have you seen that? I mean, you can put video, everything like you can in Evernote. It just displays complete. I'm not a lover of it, but when I see somebody and they share their LiveBinder out, I'm impressed that they're able to, how they collect things in there. I don't use it, but again, like you said, you got to find what works for you. Maybe maybe the interface is better. Have you used that, either one of you, LiveBinder?
I have a few live binders. I don't use it the same way I would use Evernote, because I don't take notes on things and do things like that. Plus, one of the things, with Evernote and things like that is its searching capabilities, whereas LiveBinder doesn't really have that. I use it more as a curation tool, and it's good for that, I think, instead of maybe Pinterest. If you're into Pinterest, which I'm not, so I think I could get really sucked into that and spend way too much time, so I've avoided it so far.
Well, we've talked a lot about time management, which I think is good when we talk about burnout, but I think one of the things that we haven't touched on yet that I know affects me is getting those, and I know we don't get into teaching for it, but recognition and pats on the back and, hey, you've done a good job, because those keep you going, like it or not, they do. Any thoughts on any of that? I know I've started, just to try to keep my focus on family, to keep me balanced more, I started almost a picture journal. I put something down positive about my family that day. And I wonder if doing something like that with teaching, just something positive, and I use Day One, I think, is the app or something. But have something like that. For me, it used to be taking student notes and sticking them in a folder. But have some way of getting that, you've done a good job, because we really don't get a lot of that in education.
I belong to EduGood, and anybody can do it. It's on Flickr, and you could check out Chrissy Venice. What's this? Let me see if I can find it. But her web page explains. Well, you'll get to it from EduGood. On Flickr, she'll have the web page, but it explains it. But people take a picture every day. But you're saying your family. This is in education, and then she has a coordinating document with it that kind of gives you what you could take a picture of. Something blue or from a different angle or close up. She has a lot of categories, like little prompts, I guess. That's kind of fun too. But because I'm not in the classroom right now, I just use it on my Flickr, and so I don't, if it's not to do with education, I just, go ahead and take a picture anyway and keep it in a file. But I think it's just a way, what I like about that is a 365 project is, like you're saying, not necessarily to, it's just changing your focus on something more positive and looking at things differently and closer, that aren't at a computer screen, and so I like that a lot. And people comment on your pictures then too, like you said, do it to get the pats on the back, but sometimes it's really inspirational. Some pictures I see of other people that other people take, and there's a lot of educators on Flickr a lot of people on Flickr that just share their pictures, and it's fun. I like it. But that's a good idea too, to take pictures of your family. That's so cute.
It's a good idea. There's also What's Your Eduwin, the hashtag EduWin on Twitter. And they have a podcast, weekly podcast, I think, too. And it celebrates wins in education. So you can, tweet out using that hashtag to celebrate wins in your classroom. Also sharing on Twitter. Make sure you share what's happening. If you blog about what's happening in the classroom, if you share it out on Twitter, a lot of times you'll get positive feedback that you might not get in your own school, but you'll get it on Twitter. So it can be helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I've just kind of been taking some notes in Evernote, by the way. So I told you I'm trying to do Evernote this summer. But there's kind of three things I think we've talked about so far. One is time management, and then a second is filtering and curating information, and then the third is keeping a positive focus.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think are three good things to kind of help us, prevent teacher burnout. Is there any? You might think of anything else we might be missing.
Well, so you're looking at the time management of your whole day. When I first saw this, I thought it was going to be about people's staying fresh in their discipline or in the teaching period, and how do you prevent teacher burnout? Because I think a lot of times people just, I think social media helped me, because I was in a school and it was, and I always liked technology, and the teachers, I just felt alone. And when a social media, allowed me to find so many other educators that are in the same boat. And so I would definitely say another thing to prevent would be to get connected to other educators. And you don't want to be overwhelmed, but I think connecting and learning with and along other people, and that would prevent teacher burnout for a lot of people. Find your niche, find communities, try them out, and find one that you like, or two or three, whatever. But just connect and stay, share, and they share wins, like you said. They share frustrations, resources. I mean, there's all kinds of things that people share, and I think that's really important for teacher burnout, to prevent that.
I agree. I know that Twitter has been amazing for me and the people that I've met. I started, flipping my classroom this past year, and without the people that I connected with, I think there were times I would have just thrown it all up and said, forget it.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that's really, really important, is getting connected. And social media like Twitter and, there's, I'm sure, others, but they have been very valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so now we just need to implement all this, right?
Yeah. I'll write a blog about it.
All right, awesome. So it's about time to wrap up this session, and then I guess they're going to go and pick for session 2 what things you want to be in and stuff. So they told us to wrap it up about 11. So any final thoughts?
Not really. I enjoyed meeting you both.
I did as well. I did as well. It's been a really good conversation that I think I've kind of formalized some things for myself and things that I can do, and certainly want to share it with some of my colleagues and, blog about it and put it out there.
Yeah.
Thanks for the idea, Lisa.
Sure.
All right.
Okay.
So we're going to end the broadcast. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye, guys.
Okay, thank you. Bye.